Hi, I'm Tina McElroy, Ansa, and you're here with two old chicks who know a lot of shit. I'm here as always, happily, with my podcast partner, my co-editor on our book of essays, Meeting at the Table, and my freshman college roommate from Spelman College. Hey, Wanda, how you doing?
Hey, Tina, I love that Spelman College reference because all I've been seeing on social media these days is the students going back to school.
Oh my goodness.
All that stuff, and they don't call them freshmen anymore. They call them new student orientation.
So, new student orientation, yeah. Exactly. Well, did you see our new president out?
I did. Yeah. But it just brought me back to 1967. There we were, Tina.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, she had on jeans and a t-shirt. She looked like one of the students. She could have looked like one of the students, but she also looked like one of the students from back in our day.
Yeah.
Because she had on the retro ones, you know, when you turn up. So that was, you know, that was really good. It was good to see that. Well, but how are you doing otherwise?
Well, you know, I'm doing pretty good for an old chick, you know, but maybe it's age. After all, I did have that 73rd birthday last month.
Oh Lord, are we still dragging out
the birthday? Yeah, we're still dragging out. But
we're on six. We are allowed.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is, but I can't seem to get enough sleep these days. I stay awake at night. I feel like I want to take a nap during the day, which I am not a nap person. I never, ever take naps. But if I do that, and if I take a nap, I might not be able to sleep the next night.
Sleep at night. It is a quandary, and that's never been a problem of yours. You've always been a good sleeper and able to get all of your sleep. We've been talking about this back and forth because one of the other things, old chicks, is you get older, your body changes, you know, and your needs change, and they say you need less sleep, but you should be able to, you know, go back to sleep when you wake up. I shared with you earlier. I was talking about this counterintuitive trick that I saw in Psychology Today, an article in Psychology Today, and it's to literally tell yourself the opposite of what you want. You want to go to sleep. You want your eyes closed. So you say, no, I got to keep my eyes open. I got to keep my eyes open. I got to keep my eyes open. You tell yourself, I've got to stay awake. I've got to stay awake. I'm going to stay awake all night. I'm going to stay awake. You keep telling yourself this over and over again. And the next thing you know, you're in dreamland.
Oh, really?
And I tried it last night. Did you try it?
I couldn't, you know what, man, I think I told you this. I couldn't remember if I was supposed to tell myself to stay awake or tell myself to go to sleep. So, you know, one thing I think I will do that, you know, I'm an early to bed person. Because I get up fairly early, 7-ish, 6:37-ish. But I think I might want to start staying up a little bit later. And maybe that'll help. Maybe I need to get a little more tired. So we'll see. I'm going to try your counterintuitive trick if I can remember what to do. And I may have to play back this podcast so I can remember.
Okay. Well, when we do the YouTube for this episode, we'll put up the link to that particular article. But Wanda, you kind of have to remember counterintuitive. Okay. So, you know, you want to go to counter and counter.
The opposite of what I want to do.
There you go. There you go.
So what's on your mind these days? What's up with you?
Wanda, you know what's on my mind. And that's the Sea Island Writers Retreat. Oh, we are so excited because applications have started coming in. The writing samples are really good, right?
Yeah,
they look good. I mean, you know, they're good. They certainly need work, but they're good. You know, sometimes you get, you know, samples that, you know, they really aren't ready to, you know, workshop. But all of these are, you know, are ready to workshop. And, you know, at any level, as we talked before, you don't have to be at a certain level. You know, whatever level you are, you know, we meet you where you are. So we have a number of, the number of applicants is growing. And each time it grows, you know, you and I get on the phone and we go, hooray. And, but we're looking forward so much to the Sea Island Writers Retreat, which is this November 2nd to the 6th on Tybee Island, Georgia, which is connected sort of near Savannah, Georgia, on the coast. And we're just going to have a great time. a great time. And I also applaud the folks who have applied, because I know it's a little nerve-wracking. And we've heard from people who've said that, I don't think I'm ready. If you've got a project and you've been working on it, then that means, you think it's important. If you've spent some time on it, we think it's important too. So,
right.
Please don't hesitate, because we are excited. It's going to be lit, Wanda.
Well, you said from the beginning that it's for writers and emerging writiters. So if somebody hasn't published yet, that's okay. But I tell you, I like what you said about oh gosh, now see, this is the old chick forgetting, but you sort of indicated that you're going to be grading on the curve, because we'll meet you where you are. That's what you said. We'll meet you where you are. And I'm thinking, oh, that's good, because if I'm not there yet, then she's gonna give me some allowance for that. Yeah.
The wonderful thing about writing is that it's a process. So we've been where you are. Right. It's not like we don't know that. We've been there. We've been scared, we've been scared to share with people. We've been, miffed because people have not gotten it when they read it because we gave it to the wrong people. Do not share your work with your family, okay? Do not share your work with your family.
Especially if you're writing about them.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. Even if you're not writing about it, or if you're writing about it, I would keep mum. I would keep it on the down low, because, oh Lord, everybody's gonna have an opinion. And then when it gets published, everybody's gonna be on the front row waiting to get a signed book, or gonna be on the Zoom waiting to get the signed book. They're gonna be bragging at church. Oh yeah, I was her biggest supporter when she was trying to. So we know all the stages. And like you said, we'll meet you where you are.
And the deadline, you changed the deadline a little bit, extended it.
I did. We advanced the deadline a bit, because we know that, again, it's a cost, and people have to have families. They have to put time aside. They have to make sure they use the vacation time, all of that. So we gave them a little bit more time. So the new deadline is August 31st. Yeah, August 31st. That's a good round number. And we're waiting to see you. We're waiting to see your applications. We're waiting to see your submissions of your work. So, if you can make it happen, if you think it's important enough, please come join us.
And we've already started accepting a few people. So some people have already gotten
Absolutely. Yeah. They got the stuff in, and we're excited, and we're happy to have them. I think some acceptance letters have even gone out. So get your there are only so many slots. So if you're interested, come on, no pressure, just progress.
Right. Tina, in this episode, we're going to talk about some culture in our part of the country. That is the Gullah-Geechee culture and the Gullah-Geechee corridor. Our guest is someone I describe as a cultural artist, someone who has been a cultural storyteller for almost 3 decades. Her name is Lillian Grant-Baptiste. She lives right here in Savannah, and she has been showcased, and her performances have been known to stir souls when she does her storytelling. She just
yes, right. Storytelling is right up our alley, Wanda.
Absolutely. And she does this with a lot of cultures, but she particularly focuses on the folk tales from the African diaspora. I have known Lillian for a long time, all her life, I will say. And she has been doing some performances around Savannah, but I never really got to see a full performance until about 2 weeks ago, when I went to see her at 10 o'clock in the morning. I had to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the first thing. But I got to see her full performance, and it was just amazing to me. I mean, I learned so much. I'm from Savannah, but I had never really had that kind of experience to see her. I'd seen little bits and pieces of it. So Lillian, welcome to Two Old Chicks. How are you, girl?
I am doing well, and I'm so excited to be with y'all this evening. This is just an honor.
Oh, well, welcome. We've been talking about you. As I told you, I've been hearing about you for a while. So I am so pleased to meet you face to face and to pick your brain a little bit
All right, awesome.
share
I
some
am
of
ready.
really
I'm
share
ready.
some of all the wisdom and knowledge that you have that is so fascinating to everybody in the country.
Yeah.
Everybody in
Yes.
the country, yeah.
Yes.
So Lillian, Tina and I talk about the Gullah-Geechee culture all the time. In fact, we often debate whether it's Gullah-Geechee or Geechee Gullah. So we're going to get you to help us. So maybe you'll straighten Tina out about that before we end the conversation.
Absolutely.
I'm of the Gullah-Geechee and she's the Geechee Gullah. So you can tell us which is right. Anyway,
okay.
This culture is part of the reason that Tina founded the Sea Island Writers Retreat
Wonderful.
in 2004,
awesome.
right, Tina?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a from here like y'all. I'm a come here.
That's all right. We love you.
I'm from Middle Georgia, but when the first time I came here, I mean, I was just struck by the atmosphere, by our stories. I could just feel them in the air. There's something about. I felt the same way I do about my hometown, where you really know it, and I felt it, and it not only I only felt it, it called to me.
Oh, yeah.
This is where I belong. I knew
You need to say where you need to say where here is, because everybody may not know where you are now.
I'm on St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Wanda and Lillian are in Savannah, up the coast from us.
Right. Yeah.
I'm on the island across from Brunswick, Georgia. If people know the state, but the reason that I always wanted to live here before we moved here was just what your stories entail. Just that deep, rich cultural DNA in my soul. My folks are from Wrightsville, so I know they immigrated from the, oh God, I hope I used that word right. Immigrated from the, from the coast. And I just discovered, now I don't know if this is right, correct me, that in South Carolina, they say Gullah. And in Georgia, they say Geechee. So I've always heard it Geechee Gullah because I'm in Georgia. But in fact, it's Gullah. It's Gullah in South Carolina. That's
like Gullah in
I
South
want to
Carolina.
tell you, I wore my sweetgrass basket earrings.
I love those.
And these are definitely Gullah. They were made by sisters in South Carolina. So these are Gullah.
Those are adorable.
Us out. What is it? Geechee Gullah.
It's actually Gus. Usually Gullah-Geechee. The Gullah is for the individuals who live in South Carolina. Geechee for Georgia. But we are the Gullah-Geechee culture is very.
Gullah-Geechee is the order. Hey. That's the order.
Gullah-Geechee.
Okay.
That's the order. Gullah-Geechee.
I am hereby corrected.
Okay.
But please, tell us, we have so many questions, but the first one is, tell us what exactly is the Gullah-Geechee culture, and Gullah-Geechee and what is the Gullah-Geechee corridor that we're hearing so much about?
Okay. The Gullah-Geechee people and their culture are deeply, you see the deep African retentions in the culture, and they are so connected to their African roots, more so than any other group of African Americans. And you see it in the way that they move through the world, the way that we move through the world, and their value system, their sense of spirituality, their foodways, arts. Again, their strong values, and you see 5 prominent value threads, and that is a deep sense of spirituality, a deep belief in God, a strong appreciation for community over individuality, strong kinship bonds, a respect for the land and nature, an admiration and homage for the ancestors, and the connection between life and the afterlife. So the Gullah-Geechee culture and people are just so special. And the Gullah-Geechee corridor is a national heritage area that starts in Wilmington, North Carolina, and extends down to St. Augustine. And these are those individuals that live on the coast that are part of this Gullah-Geechee people and their culture.
These are descendants.
that far to St. Augustine. I thought it ended right around Jacksonville.
And actually it did, and then they decided to extend it a few years ago to right above St. Augustine.
Okay. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the people that you're talking about, the Geechee Gullah people, all of them are descendants of formerly enslaved.
Formerly enslaved African and from many countries in Africa. You know, the folks who worked on the Gullah and Geechee were actually in Savannah and coastal South Carolina, especially were on the rice plantation.
Right.
So many of their ancestors came from the rice coast of Africa, Gambia, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Angola. So we see the richness, and one of the reasons this culture was allowed or able to flourish was because they were often isolated. You know,
On the islands?
On the island. Geographically, they were isolated, and the first bridge was not built in South Carolina, for example, until 1956. So they were oftentimes did not come in contact with a lot of white folks, and
into the mid 20th century, huh?
Absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. And what added to that was the planters, malaria. It ravaged communities, and the planters during the spring and the summer, they would leave their plantations. And they would often leave them in the hands of their overseers. So they really did not come in contact with a lot of people. They were a lot of white people. So their culture was allowed to really thrive.
Yeah.
And we see that.
And they also probably were not mixing with other
absolutely
cultures. Yeah,
they were not.
They didn't dilute it. It just stayed.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Absolutely. It's very interesting.
I started by saying all these wonderful stories that you tell, and you retell a lot of stories, but you do it in such a dramatic and beautiful performance. And I want to know, how did you get started telling those stories? What led you to the storytelling?
It's funny because my grandmother, her people are Gullah-Geechee, and they come from around the Charleston area. And it's actually not my grandmother, it was my great grandmother who actually raised my mother, my maternal grandmother and great grandmother. And she was an amazing storyteller. And my brothers and I would just kind of sit at her feet, and she would tell us the most amazing stories, Gullah-Geechee stories. And I was always just amazed at her ability to stir and teach. And I admired that, and I took that with me.
Because one thing I've noticed about the stories is they all have a moral. There's always a moral to the story, because you
always
know not to steal something, or to be kind
absolutely
to your neighbor, and you know how to
absolutely
take care. Yeah, that's what I like.
And there were common themes that we would always see in Gullah-Geechee stories, where the larger animal would be outwitted by the smaller. We know, like Brother Rabbit was a very common character in Gullah-Geechee storytelling, and Brother Rabbit would always use his wit to outsmart Brother Wolf and Brother Tiger. He would, and those Gullah-Geechee people saw themselves in that way, like, God would always justify, and right would always win over wrong. And we saw that in their stories.
Yeah.
It was also a way to pass down values and to teach and to comfort and to build. So those stories were so important.
And I'm glad you're teaching them to young people, because
absolutely,
they need those lessons early on.
Oh my goodness, we definitely need those lessons. I think now more than ever.
Yeah.
Oh my.
You got another question?
Well, I have another question, but I want to make sure that we leave enough time for storytelling. My question was about the language itself, because of the culture and language, but particularly the language that is being studied,
Everywhere.
professionally all over Yale and Harvard, Emory, Georgia Southern,
Everywhere.
in
Yes,
local colleges and large ones, and that there's real
absolutely.
respect for it now. And so can
Absolutely.
you tell us about the language and if you speak it, and
I
if you
don't,
do, if you can do
unfortunately,
some?
I
But,
don't
but,
speak it.
but,
I
and
don't.
Lillian, I want you to do that, but also, when I was growing up, when you were called a
Yes.
Geechee, it was an
Yes.
insult. That's fighting.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but people talked about us as Geechees, those who had a certain accent. So talk about
Absolutely.
that language and how we really tried to get rid of it, our
Yes.
accents, and now it seems like we're those
Embracing it.
who embracing
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so,
Of
but
course.
do few people speak it now? I mean,
Not
are
as many people speak it now as they used. I can remember growing up, I knew one of my best friends, she was from Defusky Island, and she spoke it quite well. And I knew other people. I know very few people now that really speak the language. Now it's beginning to be popular again, but like Wanda said, it was something that was shunned. If don't speak that Geechee, don't speak that Geechee. We don't want to hear that. That's nothing, because it was looked down upon. People did not speak it. They were ashamed of it. Now we are embracing it, and we're embracing that the entire culture of Gullah-Geechee culture, understanding that that's how we're rooted and grounded, and how important it is that we grab hold of our culture and our language, and that strengthens us. So
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always say I want to take our culture and just snatch it back. When it's been made
yes,
fun of, or when something that
absolutely.
was deeply important to us, I
Yes.
just want to grab it and just snatch it
Take
back. I
it
know what
back.
you mean.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I,
yeah.
Because when we realize just who we are, the strength of our people, oh my God, that is, that we survived, that we not only survived, but we thrived, and we were able to hold on to certain things, and those things held us and kept us strong and kept us rooted. How powerful is that? How powerful that is. If we don't need it now, when do we need it?
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Lillian, I really want to get into a story. So
Okay.
I call you a master storyteller. So would you share one of the many stories you tell? You tell us.
I would gladly share
Okay.
one of my favorite stories. Can y'all see me? What I'm gonna
No,
think I'm gonna
I
do.
think you're gonna have to sit.
Oh, can
Or
I
stand
stand?
back.
How
Yeah, or
about
stand
this?
way
Can I
way back.
put it here?
Yeah, right there. A little bit more.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're gonna get it together.
Yeah.
All right. Can y'all
Okay.
see me okay now?
Yeah,
can
go
hear
a little
you.
bit, Lillian, one more thing. Go a little bit closer to that picture so we can, because there was some light in your back.
Okay,
Okay.
is this good?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. All right. All right. So, this story, and let me turn on my timer. So I want to make sure that I'm. So I can.
What are we gonna do with it?
Okay. This story is a story that actually, the first time I heard the story, my grandmother told me this story. My great grandmother's story. It's one of my favorite. It's my signature story. It's called "The People Could Fly." So here we go. They tell me that way back when, before our people came to this land, they tell me that there were certain Africans that knew how to fly. They said they would just lift up their arms and they would just fly free like a bird. But then the Europeans came and brought misery to the land. And they tell me that our people were so miserable that they forgot how to fly. But there were certain Africans that looked just like every other African that came to this same place right around where we are and lived and worked And there were certain Africans that remembered the magical words that resided within them and remembered how to fly. And there was one elder by the name of Jeremiah who lived and worked on a rice plantation not too far from where you are, Tina. And they tell me that his daughter was weary and tired. She had just had a baby. But as she stepped out on that rice field, it was hot. And as the sun beamed down on her face, she became weary and worn. She fell to the ground, and they tell me that the overseer whipped her until her dress fell like rags to the ground. But her father, he knew Jeremiah. Her father knew the magic that resided within her. So they tell me that the overseer, as he rode away, old Jeremiah walked up close to her and he held her and he said, "It's time now, my daughter, to do as I know you know how to do. It's time to fly." And he whispered some deep, dark, black African words, and they tell me that something within Sarah began to stir. And she flipped over and lifted one foot above the other, and she lifted up, and she rode the wind like a horse, and she flew over that old rice plantation. They tell me she flew over the indigo plantation. She flew on and she flew over the tobacco fields, and she flew over the cotton fields, and she turned and flew over the middle passage, our journey home, and she flew over weeping and wailing, and she flew home to freedom. Well, the next day, it was even hotter than it was the day before, and there were Africans all over that field. And old Jeremiah stood there. And he whispered at first those deep, dark, black African words. And all of a sudden, one by one, those old Gullah-Geechees, they began to lift up. And one by one, they began to fly. And they flew over that old rice field and the indigo fields and the cotton fields and the tobacco fields, and they shifted and they flew over the Atlantic Ocean, where the bones of our ancestors rest on the floor. And they flew over weary days and worn nights, and they flew home to freedom. And I believe that one day we will wake up with those deep, dark, black African words, and they will bubble up, and we will be shaken and awakened from our collective slumber, and we will remember who we are, that we are descendants of a people who have been beaten but not broken, cast down but not destroyed, shaken but not shattered. And on that day, we will lift up our arms, and they will become like wings, and we will fly again. We will fly above injustice. We will fly above inhumane practices. We will fly above stand your ground. We will fly above violence. We will fly above racism and misogyny. We will fly above those things that destroy and dismantle who we are as a people, and we will remember who we are and whose we are. And one day soon we will fly, fly, fly again. Ashe. Amen.
Say,
I say. That was wonderful.
it was so good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That must wear you out.
It does.
Especially
Well,
when
I
you
tell
tell
you-
several at a time, right?
Yes, I do. When I do my programs are usually about an hour.
Mm. Pull your laptop down a little bit so we can see your face.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all.
There you are.
Can you see me
A
now?
little bit
A little
more.
bit more.
Okay. Can you see me now?
That's perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you again,
So-
Julie. That was wonderful.
Thank you
Yes, we
so
do.
much.
So Lillian, we so appreciate you keeping the cultural alive through your many performances and storytelling presentations. If someone wants to get in touch with you and have you tell stories somewhere else, how do they do that?
They can either go to my website, www.Lillian-Grant-Baptiste. They can send me an email at my email at LillianGrant-Baptiste@gmail. They can even call me. My telephone number is 912-373-4743. 912-373-4743. I would
And
love
your number is
to.
on the website, right?
Yes, all of that is on the
Yeah.
website.
Okay.
So I would love to, that's what I do. I love it.
Well, we just want to thank you for keeping the culture alive. It's so special. And I'm just
Thank you
glad
so
that there are
much.
people like you who are still doing that, so that young people don't have to feel the way we were taught to feel, at least those of us in Savannah, that you should
Yes.
hide your culture so that you assimilate and become like everybody else.
Absolutely.
It's really special.
And also that, folks who never even knew this, never, heard about it before, it opens up a whole, for myself, it opened up a whole portal of creativity and appreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And move my butt down here.
I know. We need you to move down here.
I've been down. Well, we've been here almost over 30 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm still a come here. That Wanda and Lillian are from here, as they call themselves, and they always tell me, we love you, Tina, but you're come here. You're not.
I think the pronunciation in the language is come ya and from ya.
That's it. Come ya and from ya. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, say it again. No, say it again.
Go ahead, Lillian.
Come ya and from ya. Come ya
That's
and
wonderful.
from ya.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's it.
A rich language.
That's it, right there.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Lillian. Thank you so much. And we'll be seeing more. And listen, you and I have been talking about, you got to write a book someday. So
I am.
keep it in mind.
I am.
Okay. Very good.
It's been wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Well, before we end this podcast, Tina and I want to drop some wisdom, as if our last discussion wasn't wisdom enough, right, Tina? That was
I was going to say, we're going to drop some wisdom. As two old chicks are want to do. We seem to do that regardless,
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. Okay. My wisdom is for grandparents and parents of children who are young enough to still learn this lesson.
Oh, Wanda, this is so good.
You want to teach your children how to talk. Let me say that again. Teach your children how to talk. Now, I work with and mentor young people, middle school, high school students. Lily, you want to mute yourself because I hear a little feedback.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mute myself. You're absolutely so.
Okay. Alicia, we're going to start that over if it's okay. Okay. So before we end this podcast, Tina and I want to drop some wisdom, as if our last discussion wasn't wisdom enough. Right, Tina, that was a lot of wisdom.
That was a lot of wisdom to take here, but it's so wonderful to have a podcast, so you can go back and listen to it again. Absolutely. I'm going to go back and listen to the story again when we get off, as a matter of fact.
Oh, great.
So that's a good thing. Yeah.
So I guess I'll go first.
Speaking of wisdom, we're going to be dropping some, right?
Yes, we're going to drop some wisdom.
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So Tina, my wisdom is for grandparents and parents of children who are young enough to still learn this lesson. Teach your children how to talk. Let me say it again. Teach your children how to talk. As you know, Tina, I mentor and work with children in middle school and high school. And I'm here to tell you, they don't know how to talk. They do not know how to talk to adults. They seem scared to speak up, to answer simple questions like, what grade are you in? Or what's your
What are you interested
What are
in?
you interested in? What do you want to be? That was the question when we grew up. Everybody would ask, well, what do you want to be when you grow up?
When you grow up? Yeah.
And sometimes we knew it, I think I knew it earlier than some, but sometimes we didn't. But that opens the door to have a conversation.
Well, wait a minute, Wanda. My words matter, girl. We're to have a conversation, not to conversate.
No, not
but to have a conversation.
Okay, so Tina's teasing me. She's teasing me about my TED Talk where
words matter.
And I told people don't use conversation, but that's okay. We can move on from there. So and then when I was at Savannah State, and this isn't just little kids, even when I was at Savannah State as a professor, a lot of this young people didn't know how to talk to adults. I wonder if because this generation has their heads stuck in their phones and video games and movies streaming on TV or their tablets, but we had our heads stuck in a book all the time. At least I did.
But we still would talk, but we were taught to speak up, Wanda. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah,
we were taught to. I can remember, don't mumble. She can't, Mrs. So-and-so can't hear you. Speak up, And the other thing that you know about from your own experience is how, especially children of color, young people of color, miss out on so many opportunities because they just won't speak up.
Exactly.
They have to be drawn out in every conversation, and instead of, as you said, being taught to, talk to an adult, Yeah,
a lot of people don't, I don't know if it's maybe because, when we were growing up, we had dinner at the dinner table and we would have a conversation. Well, what did you do in school today? Well, what did Miss So-and-so say about that? Well, what about your friend Tommy? How's that? What about your practice for your dancing or your drama club or your sports? We had conversations with our parents. They engaged us in conversations. And quite frankly, in my house, not all, I'm sure, they talked about what was going on in the world because we always had 2 newspapers coming in. So we were well read and we were watching the news, 6 o'clock news every night. We were in front of the TV watching that 1 hour.
We read Ebony, we read Jet along with Time and the Look magazine and all the rest. But you put your finger on it so clearly, Wanda. It's that you have to be shown and they have to be taught to talk. They have to be engaged, as you said, like at the dinner table. The question at my dinner table was from Dad was, well, what did you do today?
Yes.
And you had to have something to do other than went to school.
Yes.
That was, you had to engage in some way. And you're right. And encouraging your children to speak to your friends and, and talk to your friends.
Talk to Miss Mary down the street or in church. We learned how to do speeches in church, Easter speeches and Christmas cantatas and speeches. There were always opportunities for us to learn, and I don't know that everybody is doing that now. But this summer, I was volunteering in a summer camp right here in Savannah, and we were teaching over the course of a few Saturdays about digital reporting. That is how you tell stories using devices like your phone and the tablets. And we actually gave them phones and we had tablets that they could use. So they had no excuse but to go out and take pictures and then come back and talk about the pictures they took and then write a little story and put it on a digital platform that we provided. These were high school students. I had some students, we were sitting around a table a few times, and I had some students who would be sitting right next to me. And I would ask them, well, what did you see? What is this picture about? I couldn't hear them sitting next to them. And I threatened one young lady. I said, I'm going to go stand way in. We were in like a cafeteria, a room that size. And I said, I'm going to go all the way on the other side. And I want you to just yell at me what your picture is about. I mean, she said, no, I can't talk loud. She just refused to do it.
So can't talk loud.
Yeah. So
but that speaks to how uncomfortable, we are in doing those things, and the only way to get comfortable is practice. Only way to do it is get practice. You can't learn anything, you can go so far in the book, but you got to finally do some practice, some practical work.
Right.
So I think that's such an important one, and especially for young parents, who may not have been taught what you're saying, so they don't know to pass it on to their children. I think it's, if you're listening and you weren't taught that, it's good to start that tradition in your family. Huh?
Absolutely. So I'm going to get down off this soapbox because I could be on this soapbox all night trying to give people some tools for this, but this is my wisdom. Teach your children that it's okay to talk to friendly adults. You know, we're not telling them to go out there and talk to strangers and people who are creepy. We're talking about talk to people in your neighborhood, people who come to your house just to say, hey, how you doing? People that you know are safe. If they ask you what you want to do in their life, and you know, they are mentors. They could be mentors. So that means parents and grandparents and aunties, you have to talk to the children too. So that's the challenge. For the adults listening to this, talk to your children and make sure they have a conversation, engage a conversation with them. That's my wisdom. How about you, Tina?
Well, that's just a wonderful wisdom. I'm kind of basking in it because I'm thinking of all the opportunities that, you know, young people can have if, you know, if they speak up, at least loud enough for people, you know, people to hear you. And it shows. When you were talking about at school, I was thinking, you know, say hello to the teachers who are not your teachers, you know, hello, Mrs. Smith, hello, Mrs. And, you know, and over time you do get comfortable speaking to adults that, you know, that you're not, you know, in their circle all the time. That's a great one, Wanda. Yeah. Well, mine is, I have to tell you, mine is one that goes very deeply because it's what I learned from my mom. My mother was an expert seamstress, and one of the things she loved to do was to sew and talk. And you know, this was before little telephones were so you couldn't hold the phone on your ear, you know, and sew at the same time. And so I was the last child in the family, of course, so I was it. So I would sit in the sewing room and she would talk, and she would talk, quite frankly, very inappropriately sometimes to a kid. You know, I was 6 and 7 years old. And one of the things I remembered her saying is, don't go out in the street telling everybody how good, how generous, how romantic, how handsome your man is. You know, I was probably 5 or 6, but it was fascinating to me. And, you know, I think now in these times, Mama said, you know, you do that, then, you know, people will other folks will you know, notice him as well. And, you know, then you'll have competition for other women. Don't be going out there. You know, next thing you know, y'all be divorced. That's what she would say. And so I took this in until I was like 18 or 19 and kind of understood what she was saying. But, you know, but in this time of social media overflow, you know, social media addiction, you know, where we are telling everything, good news, bad news, you know, pictures of the baby, you know, in vitro, you know, before it's even born. You know, we know what the gender is exactly. All of these things, you know, we share too much. We really share too much. You know, we need to keep our business, you know, to ourselves. And
no, Tina, that reminds me of that song. Tain't nobody's business if I do.
Oh, Bessie Smith song, absolutely.
Yeah,
I love the line. If I take a notion to jump in the ocean, ain't nobody's business if I take nobody's business if I do. So if I go to church on Sunday and sing the shimmy down all day Monday, Wanda.
Ain't nobody's business if I do. I love it.
Keep your business to yourself.
That's great. That's great wisdom. Keep your business to yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, here we go, Wanda. Another episode of Two Old Chicks Who Know a Lot of Shit in the Tubes. We're so pleased to have you with us, as we are all the time. You know, if you're on social media, please remember to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter or at Chicks Old, or on IG at Two Old Chicks Podcast. That's Two Old Chicks Podcast.
And also remember that the collection of essays that Tina and I co-edited is Meeting at the Table, African American Women Write on Race, Culture, and Community. And it's available at downsouthpress.com. That's downsouthpress.com.
We thank you for your business. And until next time, look out for yourself and each other. Love and peace.
Bye-bye, everybody. Love, love.